but I think either one of them can develop into something special.
Check that out. Nice work there, Pop. I think that was Drake May calling. Pop, what's going on, man?
How you doing, son?
Doing all right, hanging in there. It's another day, another week, another draft podcast. Guys,
That's
if
it.
you've been enjoying these draft breakdowns, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check in with the boys over here. We've got plenty coming. We're going to start. Today's not the day, but there will be a mock draft at some point. There's going to be some more fun draft coverage as we get closer to the
1
draft.
week
But
from today will be our
I
mock draft.
mean, yeah, as you guys are seeing this, the draft is almost here. So I don't know, Pop. There'll have to be a little production meeting about how we're going to handle the draft because draft's on a Thursday. We usually drop Thursday morning. Boys might have to figure that situation out. But
We'll definitely be podding Thursday night, no doubt about it. Maybe we
there you
go
go, son.
live.
Ooh, ooh.
Ooh,
Would anybody guys drop a comment if you would hop on the Dom and Pop live? That's a little pop with the curveball there. I like that. Drop a comment if you hop on the live stream for the draft. I know there's a lot of places to be that night. Drop a comment. That kind of disrupts my plan of going to play a little bit of golf, watching it at the clubhouse with some wings after. But maybe we go live. I would make that sacrifice for the people. I'll tell you that right now. So drop a
well, we
comment if
go
you guys want
live
to
and
check
it's
that out.
recorded, so it's 2 for 1. It's a live
Yeah.
broadcast plus. We'll see. We got to talk about it.
Drop
Let's
a
get
comment if you
rolling.
guys want to figure it out. Let's get rolling. Anyways, draft quarterback vibes is today's main topic. And then we are going to talk a little bit of OTAs and some more draft prediction later on for the second half of the episode. So, guys, if you do want to hear what's going on in camp, stay tuned or hit that chapters button. It'll be there for you. But there's some good quarterback talk going on here. Obviously, big news,
Let's
big
face it.
three.
Quarterback talk gets the clicks.
Let's call it what it is,
Let's
man.
call it
Call it
what
what
it
it
is.
is. For the last 30 years, all you got to do is talk about quarterback in this town. And for Jezu, please, if you're listening, make this be the last year we got to talk about quarterback, please. There's one thing. It's all I want for Christmas this year. Please. So Jayden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy. That's the big three. They're all scheduled to come visit with the Commanders this week. They're all going to get wine and dine down at DC Prime probably. I think, Jayden Daniels strikes me as a filet guy. I feel like Drake May is getting the tomahawk, and J.J. McCarthy, I think, is chicken breast. I think J.J. McCarthy goes chicken breast there. We'll see. We'll see. We had a quarterback who didn't like red meat last year. He's in Seattle now, so we got to work through that. But they're all scheduled. So, Pop, where are your vibes at, or you want me to just get right into the scouting report and then talk about some of the bigger headlines? I've been yapping a lot to start the episode, so I want to give you the floor if you want it.
Nah, I mean, I think let's get into it. I'm anxious to hear. We haven't gotten the official Dami scouting report. We've been all up in his feels because he's Drake May guy, but I don't know. There's some vibes shifting there, so we'll see where his vibe is later. But I'm anxious to hear the pros and cons that you see for each prospect. I know you said you've been breaking down some film, so anxious to hear that, and then we can get into what the reporting is out there from some of the top guys.
Yeah, I'm down. So let's get into the scouting reports here. So as you guys know, Jayden Daniels, Drake May, J.J. McCarthy. That's the big three. Let's start with Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels right now looking like the most likely to come in here. I've been breaking down the tape. I've been looking into more Jayden Daniels. I've been breaking down the breakdowns on Jayden Daniels as well. I've had a lot of time on my hands to kind of dig into this stuff. And for Jayden Daniels, what has really jumped off for me since we started this and since I started forming the opinions that I've formed, and something that has made me much more excited about it is the passing. Frankly, the passing from Jayden Daniels, like the whole not throwing the ball over the middle of the field thing, it's a little bit concerning, but I think at the end of the day, you do have to balance that with like what are these guys being asked to do in college, and the advanced metrics in college are a little bit tricky to track because it's such a different game, right? So, right, he hasn't thrown over the middle of the field a lot, but why would he have to throw over the middle field all that much when he's got Malik Neighbors there? That's the difficulty. That's what makes that stat a little bit hard to put a ton of weight into. But what I love, his pocket presence is ahead of schedule, in my opinion. His ability to move within the pocket and to throw the football inside of the pocket is ahead of schedule. I think, in my opinion, I put him more in the Mahomes Wilson side of the mobile quarterbacks than I put him on the Lamar Fields
Woo!
side of mobile quarterbacks. I've kind of moved him over that line, in my opinion, and that's the side of the line you want to be on. I think Lamar Jackson's an incredible talent, but I think you look at those guys, the Lamar Jacksons, the Cam Newtons, the Justin Fields types that are athleticism first, passing second. Lamar has been the one that's been able to close that gap the most, but I think whereas Lamar is like 60 running, 40 passing, I think Jayden's more the other way. I think it's 60 passing, 40 running. I think Jayden is a much better passer than Lamar was coming out of school. He's a much better passer than Jalen Hurts was coming out of school. Obviously, a better passer than Fields was coming out of school. What's not to like about Jayden Daniels? His size is maybe the only thing, but I'm not particularly concerned about that. I think he'll smarten up, and I really am excited about Jayden Daniels.
Well, size wise, I saw some of his pro day, and I don't know. He looked pretty solid to me. I mean, he's definitely got more of that lean stature, but he's got good height, which in terms of throwing over the middle, or in terms of developing that part of his game, is pretty important.
Yeah,
I think all of those things about his athleticism, is well noted. But the fact that some of the first things you hear scouts highlight about Jayden is his ability to process quickly. And it seems like that's one of the biggest things that rookie quarterbacks struggle with, or young quarterbacks struggle with. And the fact that that's part of his ability, or one of his superpowers, straight away. Now, how that translates to NFL, you never know. But that's pretty impressive. And I agree. He's a pass first QB that can run. And the thing is, when he runs, he can get you those 20, 30, 40-yard chunks. It's
yeah,
incredibly dynamic. It's not the same thing as maybe you see as a Sam Howell as a runner, or a Drake Maye as a runner, who can get it done, or I think he's just Daniel Jones was the name I was thinking of, right? Daniel Jones kind of kill you with his legs, but doesn't have the kind of speed, that Jayden Daniels does. So I think it's an impressive prospect for sure. And I get a little tired of hearing how Drake Maye has the bigger upside. Not to take anything away from Drake's upside, because I kind of get it. He's
yeah,
got more of that. If there's a knock on Jayden, it's he doesn't really have that elite arm strength. But if you look at, you use Pat Mahomes, and it's really unfair to compare any of these guys to Pat. So we're not doing that. So if you
Don't
give
say
us
Mahomes
comments,
doesn't have.
that we did that, you're not really listening. But that's okay. Still comment. But I don't know that, like, when you
Don't
see
say it. Don't say
when
it.
you
I
see
know what
him
you're
make
about to say. Don't
throws,
say
no,
it.
no, no, no. When you see Mahomes make throws, it's not like he's blowing you away with his arm strength. It's more
I
the fact that
disagree.
he can place the ball, and he makes those throws off of it. So, he's got the arm strength. I'm not saying that he doesn't, right? But and I would say that's the one knock on Daniels, is that he doesn't have the cannon of an arm that a May has. And so that's
Yeah,
why I know a lot of people talk about the upside of May, but to me, the upside of Daniels is the fact that he can do it with his legs. And if he continues to develop as a pocket passer, and puts more in his game as a passer, then you've got an absolute superstar, which is what you
agreed.
would be hoping for. And that's why I don't know that, any one of them has a higher ceiling than the other. I don't think we know that. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I personally think that I think I disagree with the arm strength on Mahomes, but that's fine. We can move on from
You
that.
didn't hear me though. See, that's the thing. You didn't let me finish. I said he's got great arm
I heard
strength.
you. I
I'm
disagree with
saying he
what you.
makes a lot of throws that are more those touch type throws. Do you not disagree?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
It is
That's all I
important to
was
be.
trying to say.
It's important to be able to do both. We can ask Jay Cutler what happens when all you can do
I
is zip the
agree. And
ball up
that's
the gut.
the one knock on
But
him, is that he doesn't have that elite rocket arm.
I think Daniels has more than enough. I think the only
I agree
reason we're
with you.
saying he does not have an elite rocket arm is because of the next guy that we're going to talk about, which is Drake May, who I think
Smooth.
you want to talk about an elite rocket arm. Holy crap. This dude's got a
Yeah,
cannon. Just
he
a
does.
bazooka on this guy. But you guys know the famous saying there's a graveyard full of NFL quarterbacks with elite arm strength. So, what's the downside about this guy? He's a little bit erratic, a little bit errant. You don't really know where. Errant, real quick, Pop, does that start with an E or an A? Because I have no clue. You know?
I think it's an E. ERRANT.
Well, we'll go with that. He's a little all over the place, but man, he makes throws. If you just look at the good from Drake May, you could say this guy is the best quarterback prospect we've had in years. If you just look at the good. But when you look at the bad, you go, huh? Is that the
Yeah.
it's almost like you wonder, is that the same guy in that uniform? Some of those throws? How does a guy who's so good at one make the other head scratcher? So he is, in my opinion, I think the definition of boomer bust. However, what makes me very hesitant about putting down Drake May is a young man by the name of Justin Herbert, who was the same. It was eerily similar. The scouting report on Justin Herbert when he came out of school. Great big arm, little too mechanical, can have some accuracy issues. You never know where he was basically rated as the highest bust prospect of those quarterbacks on that board. And over the years, he's proven to be the most consistent performer out of that group. So, and I'll probably get some flack for that, but Burrow can't stay on the field. So that's an aspect of the whole thing too, right? But
Yep.
out of Burrow, Herbert, Tua, Herbert has been the most solid. It hasn't had the highest highs, but hasn't had the lows either. And the whole thing on that
I
was
think the
was
book is
going up
still
and down.
unwritten on Herbert. I know you're
100%.
high on him. I think he
It's a stud.
obviously has got tremendous skill set, and I don't know that you could put all of what's happened with the results on him.
It's on the
But
worst
certainly, I
range
mean,
team in
it's
the
a
league.
great comp. If May can turn out to be a Justin Herbert, you'd be pretty darn happy with that. If you could build the rest of the team around him and coach him up, you'd be pretty darn
Yeah.
happy with that.
Yeah. Sneaky, really good, almost a sneaky athlete, which I try to avoid saying because it's just a funny term. But pretty athletic, really good at creating off schedule. I think maybe a little bit better at creating off schedule with his arm than Jayden Daniels is. Jayden Daniels will create off schedule with his legs, but you don't see him making those like Kyler Murray, Mahomes, like a squirrel running around in the backfield and then fling the ball. You'll see May do a little bit more of that. But I think May, I stand by it. Highest ceiling, I think it's a thin margin over Daniels, but highest ceiling, but also lowest floor by a much wider margin than the other two guys. So that's my May scouting report. You got any more you want to add on that, Pop, or should we hit JJ?
No, I mean I don't. I think you nailed it. I just say real quick. I mean, there's not a lot not to like about May as a prospect. The head scratching throws and the fact that he kind of gets a little bit happy feet in the pocket sometimes, and
Yeah,
and doesn't seem to have that pocket awareness that you would love. But the thing you'd be banking on is, can you coach that out of them, right? And can you? And I really believe that that's what it's going to come down to with either one of these two guys, or maybe any one of these three guys, is how they get coached up. And I do believe that with the right level of coaching and with the right level of support around him, a guy like May could turn into a great player. It may not be
nice.
quite as um, dynamic in year one as you might get out of Jayden Daniels, and that's been a popular take on the two of them, that you'll get more out of Jayden year one, but you might get more out of May long haul. And what's the right decision? But I think either one of them can develop into something special.
Check that out. Nice work there, Pop. I think uh, I think that was Drake May calling. He's got a couple things he wants to add. He wants to add there,
I'll
but
give you
I
three
agree.
guesses as to who though.
Yeah,
I move
I
on.
agree. I think there's a pretty strong case for either of them, and I think I'd be very happy with either one of those two options moving forward. And here's a third option, frankly, that I'd be very happy with, and I think I might have above Drake May at this point in time, JJ McCarthy. And
What happened to
thing
you?
with
What happened to
here's
you?
here's my thing with JJ McCarthy. All right, here's my thing. Everything you want to say he doesn't do well, which I don't think is much, frankly, you don't need. He does everything you need at a high level. I think JJ McCarthy has I think he has the highest floor out of any of the four guys, including Caleb. I think he has the highest floor out of the top four quarterbacks. And I think he does just about everything you need. You could make a real argument. I won't make the argument, but you could make a real argument that he is everything you need to win a championship.
The comp that I've heard, this came from our other favorite podcast, the Beltway Football Podcast. The boys said that they comp him to Alex Smith, which you can win a lot of games with Alex Smith, and he's got a lot of really great capability. He's going to be a pro's pro, but I don't think to me, and Alex was number one. Number one, it was the Alex Smith that we saw through the course of his career. JJ just feels mid first round pick to me. If I was picking 10 to 15 and I needed a quarterback, I would feel awesome about picking JJ McCarthy. I'm
Yeah.
not sure I go there at number two,
You
right?
got to be
Because of that
really,
upside,
yeah,
the fact that you look at Drake Maye and you just go, wow, when you look at his arm and what he could potentially be, you
yeah,
know, and Josh Allen comes to mind, right? Who we haven't
yeah,
mentioned yet, and then you do the comparisons with Daniels to, you mentioned it, I didn't, but some of the guys out there, in terms of that dual threat, and I think JJ is just solid, down the middle, solid, and could turn out to be a really good player.
yeah.
If that couldn't possibly win you a title, but at number two,
Like
not for me, right?
if you're the Raiders and you get JJ McCarthy, you're
For sure,
thrilled.
for
You're
sure.
thrilled because you've got an elite wide receiver. You've got I don't know what they did a running back, but you've got a solid defense. Like you're very excited about we can plug this kid in and maybe go win 10 games this year. You know, because I think he's the most pro ready. I think he's got all the processing speed in the world that you need. He's got all the arm talent that you need. He doesn't do anything extraordinary. And I'm going to say something here, but it's going to sound crazy. But there was one other guy from Michigan that didn't do anything extraordinary, and he did pretty all right in the NFL. I am not comping the
Now you
two
see,
at
you
all.
you give
I
me a
am
hard time about the Mahomes comparison.
I am not comping the two at all, but what I'm saying is we are so
Don't do it.
intoxicated. We
Don't
are
do it.
so well, I'm not doing it. It's blasphemy.
I'm
That's
just-
blasphemy. But we are so intoxicated in today's NFL with the shiny toys. But look at what Jalen Hurts did last year. Look at the way he regressed. Look at the way Lamar has been sort of up and down in his career. Like the fast mobile, can run up and down the field, can throw from behind the back and throw over their head. That is a that is definitely where the league is headed. That is a very great thing, but there's something to be said for a very solid quarterback that can come in and do everything 8.5 out of 10, but nothing 10 out of 10. You can win championships
no,
with that.
and that's why I
You
said,
can win championships with that guy.
I said if I'm picking 10 to 15, or maybe even, 5 to 10, if I really need a quarterback and these top three guys are off the board, I'd
Yeah.
feel really good about picking JJ McCarthy. But I
Yep.
got to go with the potential upside that the other two guys can give you. By the way, I want to officially issue an apology for hanging up on Jayden Daniels right there. But, podcast, we've got to
Listen,
stay
man.
true. This comes first, right?
Jayden,
I'll call him back. I'll
We
call him
sent
back.
you the Zoom link. You didn't get on in time. The show must go on. All right,
That's
buddy?
right.
We need
That's right.
punctuality in this program.
That's right.
No BS program here. Anyways, so the big headlines on this one, you guys have all heard it a million times. Schefter has basically bet the house. Have we checked Schefter's FanDuel on on the Jayden Daniels going
Doubling,
number 2
tripling down.
overall. Oh my God, he's going on every podcast he can get on, except for ours apparently. Schefter, where are you at, man? He's going on every podcast he can get on, saying that he was on the Trapper Dive podcast last
We
week.
got to give our boys a Trapper Dive a little more respect than that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Oh no, it's legit. It's a legit program over there. They run a great show. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at all. But Schefter's on with the Trapper Dive guys. Great program if you guys haven't checked it out. And he's saying it's safe to order a Jayden Daniels jersey. That's what he says. And I'm sure you guys have seen the clip go around.
Mine's already on order.
I can't do it yet. I will. I think I'm gonna get the jersey this year, though. I think whoever the quarterback is, I'm gonna go ahead and get their jersey going into this year. I think I'm
Either
gonna
a 5 or a 10 will look pretty damn good.
10 would be sweet.
He's
soccer
gonna have
fans,
to.
so I know.
He's gonna have to buy that off Tress, right? Isn't Tress Wade the 5? Who's 5 on the Commanders?
Yeah, it's Tress. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't think he's gonna want to wear number 0?
Oh, please, God, no.
But anyways, Schefter.
Hey, we're 20 minutes in. I haven't mentioned that yet. Come on, we're doing pretty good.
Go. Hanging strong. Schefter has doubled down on that Trapper Dive podcast, and he basically said, safe to order a Jayden Daniels jersey. I think at this point, we can go through this part of the pod pretty quick, Pop. We're both pretty convinced it's going to be Jayden Daniels, right?
Yeah, the one thing that I noted here is that Keim had a report that came out, just yesterday on Friday. We're recording this on Saturday about how, folks out there, a lot of the scouts are saying they've got no clue who the Commanders are going to actually pick. I'm not sure I believe that at the end of the day. I think all signs are pointing to Daniels. And, Shefty's been clear to say that's his guess, that he doesn't have any inside information. But for him to be that bold and go out with it seems like he's got a little more. It seems like it's more that he's talked to a Dan Quinn or an AP and, been sworn to secrecy than him not saying anything. But, anyway, I don't want to start a rumor there. But yeah, I think all things considered, I'm still Jayden. Although, like I said, I'm going to trust these guys and go with whatever. I mean, do you think anything could happen in these visits that would sway them or change them? One part 100%. Of the question, and part two is, do you think they know who they want at this point?
I think if you don't think there's anything that could happen in the visits that could sway or change them, I think you ought to call up Ben Johnson and see what he has to say about that. I think at the end of the day, this organization is really going to value those visits and the leadership that they see and the character of these guys when they get them in person, really sit down and spend a lot of time with them. So I'm definitely putting a lot of weight into these visits. And yeah, I think that's a place where you could see a Drake Maye jump over to Jayden Daniels, a J.J. McCarthy jump over to Drake Maye, Jayden Daniels solidify himself. But I think they're definitely going into those visits saying it's Jayden Daniels probably, but let's see how he does. And I think
who's at the top of your draft board right now at number 2?
JD.
That's a change. This is the first time you've said it.
I was really impressed and pleasantly surprised.
This is after the film breakdown, after the film study. Dominic has moved Jayden up the board, which is really what matters.
As soon as he made that switch to me of, wait, this guy's actually a pretty good throwing quarterback that can also run the ball really well, from this guy's a great running quarterback that can also throw the ball really well. It might sound like I'm saying the same thing there, but it's a distinction. As soon as he made that switch for me, I was like, oh, yeah, well, then it's no brainer.
So you don't listen to your pop, because that's the point I've been making for the last month now.
I didn't agree. From what I had seen on the film thus far, I didn't agree, but I have come around.
That's disrespectful.
I'll be happier than 99% of Jayden Daniels fans will be if we draft Drake Maye, though. I'll say that. But that's where I'm at. I say we move on. Ran a little long on that segment, but just so much good stuff to talk about there.
Yeah, we got to start the 15 to 25.
Got to hit the 15 to 25. So for that, this week, OTA vibes, draft predictions. So OTA's obviously started up already, so football is back. We're here. It's that time of the year. It's the most wonderful time of the year, NFL season. NFL season never ends. It's a 12-month product. Call it what it is. But Pop, a little bit of good vibes around the young man Frankie Louvu in the building. You want to speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, the NFL Network had a good article here recently, and they're talking about how, those teammates are really impressed. Another guy that I'm pretty high on, Jeremy Chin, who I think's another, potential real good addition for us. His particular quote says, "Frankie's a dog." High energy guy. He's gonna, energize the rest of his teammates, and you love to hear that. And it seems like he's gaining respect. He's got a kinship with Marcus Mariota. So Marcus Mariota talked about how they're spending a lot of time together in the OTAs, and that how impressed he's been in terms of watching Louvu on tape and what a problem he is, and that the ability to partner with a Bobby Wagner as well could be a very effective combo there.
Yeah.
Louvu has tremendous respect for Wagner, so the fact that he's coming in maybe as the headline signing a free agency, or one of them anyway. But he's got somebody that he almost defers to in a way, and in his leadership, and Bobby Wagner is I think a great combination too. So it's something to get excited about. I mean, we talked about it before, our linebacking group, and even Chin is a guy that's probably going to play, in that hybrid safety linebacker role at times. All of a sudden, that's become a real strength of this defense, and that to go from where we were last year to where we
Yeah.
are now, potentially with this group, that's a big upgrade. And you talked about the importance of this defense being a big pivotal role in helping that rookie quarterback along, right, and getting stops and getting that ball back for us. I think that's a great addition. It's good to hear all these things about Luvu. What's your take?
Yeah, I love it, man. We just need some powerful, strong leadership in that locker room. That's the biggest thing for me right now is we need guys that are, and I think personally, I don't think it coming from I don't think it coming from veterans and only veterans and veterans that have been here for 10 years. I think you can infer who I'm talking to. I don't think that being the only source of leadership is going to be successful for us. I think we need young guys that want to attack. I think we need veterans from other programs that have had success across the league that are going to want to attack. I think you just saw the way it fell apart last year when the only voice you had to rely on was John Allen. And
Right.
it's like at the end of the day, I love John Allen. I think he's a great football player. I understand why he was frustrated last year. I think he was frustrated for all the same reasons we were frustrated for, right? He's given it his all as a player, and he's not getting the results, and he's sick of it, and it sucks. And he loves this team, and he loves this city. And that much, how can you fault the guy for that? Being such a great player. He could have left here 5 years ago, right? So, but him being the only voice of leadership in that locker room was a complete disaster and a failure and a massive miscommunication and misassignment of roles by the organization, in my opinion. He just clearly wasn't the guy for that.
No, I
So
think it's a great point. I think it's a great point, because I think now, you think of guys like Chin and Luvu coming in, and of course Wagner, like, and I also kind of compare, I look at Eckler, on offense, right? I think that, he's going to take a little bit off of Terry as well as a vet leadership guy, and Ertz as well, Zach Ertz.
yep,
So I think now you've got, on both sides of the ball, some really good vet leadership presence. That's just not guys that, because a little out of character for an Allen,
yeah,
or a Terry McLaurin to be that vocal leader, even though it's something that, they've taken on. Having other guys, injected into it, as well as DQ, right? DQ brings an energy level that's very different, I think, than Ron Rivera. So, yeah, I agree. It's potentially really good. That's why I
yep.
think this team is going to compete in year one.
I think it might be like I liken this team to, you remember when the Jaguars in their second year with Lawrence after the Urban Meyer year, the first year with Doug Peterson. You remember how they kind of had a lot of talent around and they were pretty scrappy, and we played them week one and we beat them with the Carson Wentz year. But then by the
Right.
end of the year, they were in the playoffs and they
Yeah.
put together a crazy run. I don't think we might not make that playoff run, but I think this is the team that you'd much rather face in September than in November, December, because I think they're going to, by that time of the year, even though we might only be a 6, 7 win team, we're going to be a scrappy, tough out, watch out for these guys next year to take the next step type of team, I think. Um, but so do you want to look into this Mel Kiper mock situation,
Absolutely.
Pop? All right.
Absolutely.
How could we not? I mean, Mel Kiper, just the guy around here. How could we not look into that? So
He's your
in
favorite
Mel
draft analyst.
in Mel Kiper's mock draft 4.0, look, man, you got to respect Mel Kiper's ability to sell himself at the end of the day. That's a natural born hustler right there. And he ain't half bad at the drafting. So
He's been
good for
doing
him.
it since the 80s, I think.
Yeah, I mean, he was really the first big big name draft analyst.
Yep.
Um, so good for him on that for carving out his own lane. In his mock draft 4.0, which is what we're looking at today, he does have the Commanders taking Jayden Daniels at number 2. Guys, if you're watching this in the clip, go back to Monday's episode. Check that out. We spent plenty of time talking about that. And if you guys are here from the first episode, you've already heard the whole breakdown. So I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on the Jayden Daniels pick. I think we just move on.
I mean, I think maybe just get into the quote, right? He says, sticking with Daniels. He's saying that this is, he's been pretty consistent with that for his previous mock drafts. I think the thing we probably didn't talk about earlier that you hear a lot with Daniels is the fit with the skill set that Cliff Kingsbury likes in a quarterback. And I think that's one of the main things that you hear from a Kuiper and others about why they think, that's going to be the Commanders' picks. One reason, not the only reason, but one reason. And I also go back to what Dan Quinn says about what's the type of quarterback that gives defensive coordinators fits and keeps them up at night trying to prepare for. A Jayden Daniels with that dual threat, I think, is a bit more of that guy. And that's the logic behind him being that pick.
Yep. I like that. I like that breakdown. I like that logic. Let's move on. So that puts us at number 36 overall. He has us mocking offensive tackle from Arizona, Jordan Morgan, to the Commanders. And quote, with Charles Leno Jr. released this offseason, the Commanders have a hole at left tackle. Morgan started 35 games there in college. His tape is extremely consistent in both pass and run games. He rarely blew his assignments. Now, Pop, I know you've been grinding offensive tackle tape
I had no
every night
idea.
until 4 or 5 in the morning. I know you've been going crazy with it. What do you think there? I mean, I'll take his word for it, and I think picking up a solid high floor tackle at number 36, I'm happy about.
Yeah, I'm happy about it. I just worry a little bit about if that's the first swing we're going to take an offensive tackle. Um, Worries me a little bit because you even hear the analysis that he's projected as maybe being a better guard than tackle in the NFL,
Yeah,
but could be okay at tackle. That always makes me a little bit nervous. But certainly, I like the position. I
yeah.
think that next pick needs to be a tackle.
And
But
for the
I'll
next
I'll
pick,
say I'll save my bold prediction for later. What I think should happen there.
I like that. Yeah, we're going to hit that a little bit later. I got a good one for that, too. For my next pick, number 40 overall, Mel Kiper has him finding a little bit of help in the secondary with quarterbacks Max Melton from Rutgers. Quote, now that I gave the Commanders their future quarterback and left tackle, it's time to focus on the defense. They ranked last in the league in passing yards allowed to receivers, 3,167. I mean, that's a half decent year for a quarterback, and that's how many
Right.
yards we allowed to receivers last year. So, holy crap. And lost Kendall Fuller in free agency. Melton, I mean, it's more yards than Taylor Heineke had, I think. Melton was one of my risers after the combine, after 4-year starter, and has the physical traits to be an early contributor. I like Mel Kiper when it comes to defensive backs rankings. He's in my good graces after he pulled the Deontay Banks pick last year, and Banks, former Terp, unfortunately now a New York Giant, but former Terp, and a guy that I think has been solid and one of the better corners, certainly better than the corner we had out of that class last
Yeah.
year. Um, so I like it, man. I said in a few podcasts back, go back. I said tackle quarterback would be how I would do it. So I'm all in favor of this.
Without a doubt, we need help at corner. We talked about that last pod where we should focus on position wise, and would love to see that.
Yep. So it is worth noting in this Commanders Wire USA Today article that they said they expect Washington to target a wide receiver here, but there's a lot of depth in the class, so maybe they can use one of those third rounders to get it. It seems like wide receiver, now that Curtis Samuel's gone, is sneaking up people's ranks as a position of need, Pop. I think that's something to keep an eye out for, and I think that is going to line up with my bold prediction for the Commanders draft. Are you ready to get in our bold predictions?
Wow, I can't wait to hear this.
Ready for this one?
I'm ready.
I think the Commanders trade for Brandon Ayuk on draft night. That's my bold prediction. I have no sources. I have no reason to believe that. It's wishful thinking. And my second bold prediction will be I think they draft 2 quarterbacks. I think they
Well,
take
what do
another
they
quarterback,
trade? What do they give up for Brandon Ayuk?
second and a fifth.
You think that'll get it done?
They got it done for Stephon Diggs, yeah, because he's got 1 year left and then he's got to get signed. So I think they trade him. I think they sign him to a big extension, maybe a second and a fifth, maybe a third from this year and a first from next year, something along those lines. But I think they make a move. I think they bring in Brandon Ayuk. I'm getting naked if that happens because I think Brandon Ayuk's a top 10 wide receiver in this league. I think he'd be the wide receiver 1 on this roster. I think you probably don't agree with that, but I think Brandon
Oh
Ayuk
yeah, I mean
is
he'd
an
be
animal.
challenging. He'd be challenging for it for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, no question. I mean, he's a great talent.
It makes all the sense in the world to me, especially when you consider Terry will be by the time Brandon Ayuk's max contract kicks in, Terry's going to be going into the last year of his contract. So it just gives you more flexibility with what we're doing at that wide receiver position. Make sure you still have an alpha in the building no matter what. I that's my bold prediction. I think in the same way that Philly made some moves for AJ Brown a couple years ago, I think Washington makes some moves, goes ahead and gets Brandon Ayuk on draft night.
Yeah, I love it. Great prediction. That's fantastic. And I certainly would be excited by it. How could you not be? I get a little nervous about burning that draft capital before we build up the trenches. I mean, we need offensive tackles, we need edge rushers. So that makes me a little nervous because I think we're okay at receiver. We may not be great at receiver, but I think we're okay at it. And I think maybe we can get that bigger guy in the third round ish at receiver, and it's a deep receiver draft. But yeah, if you could pick up a talent like that, I'm certainly not going to hate on that.
Yeah.
That'd be super exciting.
Yeah, I'd be all over it. So, what's your bold prediction for the draft pop? You want to get into it?
My bold prediction, I'm going to get in specifics here, right? I'm predicting that, you know what, we got to go get out that franchise QB at pick number 2. We're all anticipating that and all going to be super excited once that pick is finally made. And then we can start talking about the prospect, not the what ifs, right? But I think it just makes too much sense that you go quarterback and you pair him up with that star offensive tackle for the future in the same draft. And I think that's what AP's cooking up. And I think that's why he's been banking these picks is to trade up into the first round. So when we're live streaming or whatever we end up doing Thursday night, I think we're going to have to stay tuned through the draft because it would not shock me if the Commanders, and I'm going to predict now that they're going to package pick number 36 and pick number 40 to trade up to the Saints pick at number 14, or maybe the Colts pick at number 15. I'm going to give
Wow.
myself a little bit of leeway, and they're going to pick Olu Muyiwa Fashanu, offensive tackle,
Oh
starting
man,
offensive tackle out of Penn State. Because
I'm going.
mock drafts have him going right around that 14, 15 pick. I did my homework. That's what's going to happen. I'm calling my shot.
I'm going streaking. Screw getting
Calling my
naked.
shot.
I'm going streaking. I mean, if we did that, I would be over the moon. Over the moon. He's a stud. He's a stud. And you go do that, I think that
Can
is
we call him Olu? Olu. I think Olu. That's a pretty cool
Olu
nickname,
will
right?
work. Olu will
Olu.
work. Yeah.
Olu
I
Fashanu
I would be
will be a
all
Washington
over this.
Commander.
It's the kid out of Penn State, right?
Penn State
Yeah,
offensive tackle.
I'd be all over that. He's a stud. He's super athletic. He's just yeah, I like that pick a
The
lot.
phones are going to be ringing at the very minimum. Those phones are going to be ringing about those guys, them trading up to get
Oh
another
yeah.
thought second. It just makes too much sense.
And a little I did throw it in earlier, but I want to throw it in again here. A little less bold prediction. I think once we come to rounds 5, 6, 7, I think they draft another quarterback. That's my last one. I think they're going to throw in another one, a late rounder there. They're going to sprinkle it in. I think Adam
It'll be
Peters,
fine.
he hit the lottery with Brock Purdy once. I think he's going to just sprinkle it in, get a young guy just to be a cheap backup, if nothing else, have around.
They
Um,
got enough guys in the QB room now, but
I think they do
whatever
it
you
again.
do late, it's cool with me.
Maybe a little Talia, keep them in the
No,
DC area. They're saying 7th round, maybe undrafted. Maybe you just go get him in the 7th, throw it in there. A
as
little
much
name
as I like
brand.
Talia, I don't think he's. I think
Not
he's a
quite
long
league ready.
shot. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't disagree. But I think that's it, Pop. I think it's another great podcast in the books here.
it's a wrap.
I think if either one of our draft day scenarios, and I think we might have to involve a little bit of tequila with that live stream. I think that would be just spectacular.
Listen,
If either one of those
listen.
things
I
happen.
don't want to be here tooting our own horn, but how good was this, man? We're spreading it
What a
around. Of course, got to
blast!
get a little quarterback chart in, talk in. Sorry, OTAs with the Frankie Louvu talk and talking a little bit about how that free agency is impacting the team, and then those bold predictions were
Yeah,
fantastic. Come on, people,
don't let the
tune
boy
in,
get
tell
hot.
your friends, get those
Don't let
subs up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Don't let the boy get hot and start breaking down the Masters either. We got to jump off before I start getting into that.
Yeah,
We got to go
fun
so that I
stuff.
can go put the Masters on. But anyways, Pop, another great pod. Let's wrap this thing up without further ado. I've been Dom,
This is Pop.
and thanks for listening, everybody.